SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I am here with a special guest today, the founder, the owner, the creator, the god of SimWorld Hoops, Ronyel. Ronyel, how are you doing today?
Affectionately known as Yellz. It's Memorial Day weekend. I'm feeling good, man. I love it.
Yeah, are you doing anything special for Memorial Day?
Absolutely. It's called nothing.
I know, I get the day off and just going to do a whole lot of nothing. Well, yeah. This is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is not E. E could not be here today, so that is Yellz. I am the Fat Man, and this is the podcast where we just talk about pretty much whatever we want. It's usually SimWorld Hoops related. Today we have a special Memorial Day episode. We're going to talk about some of our favorite, I'll say, veterans of the sports world. And since you're our special guest today, I'll let you go first, Yellz. Who do you have on your list?
Man, it's basketball related, right? You know, I'm a basketball guy first. I have a very sneaking suspicion that everybody may be familiar with this guy, and maybe he's the first one that comes to everyone's mind. And you may know that he was in the military. You may know that he has some championships. You may also know that he got dusted in his MVP season by the great Hakeem Olajuwon in the playoffs. That man, David the Admiral Robinson, Naval Academy, two-time Wooden and Naismith Player of the Year, David Robinson. So everyone knows I love Hakeem Olajuwon, right? And I'm going to mention his name while I'm talking about David Robinson. Absolutely. But David Robinson, absolute beast, man. Everyone knows how great he was. One of the things he doesn't get credit for on the basketball court to me, and that was he was one of the original big men that was still a big man, but he had a face-up game. He was like, I'll take you out on the perimeter and go around you, but I'm still a big man. I'm still 7 feet. Please don't come in here driving the lane while I'm in here because I'm going to do something about it. Yeah, but David Robinson, man of great character, man of great discipline, and you can see it on the court. That's what everyone talked about. I know to the older, younger generation, they talk about Tim Duncan. But Tim Duncan, when you ask him, he says he learned everything he learned from the habits, character, and the consistency of David Robinson. So that's my number one.
Yeah, and he was going to be on my list too. There's not a whole lot that you can not say about him. I mean, the only thing that he didn't do was win a national championship when he was in college. But when you go to Navy, I don't think you expect to ever win a national championship. I did read though that he had considered leaving Navy before they required him to do the mandatory 2 tours, which obviously that never happened anyways. But he had considered transferring, which would have been interesting because I feel like I never seen they made a promise to him that he wasn't going to go to the front lines or whatever, and he decided to stick it out, and they just made him do the 2 years because he was drafted in '87, didn't play until '89 because he did have his 2 years there. But no, I mean he's done it all. He's for me when I'm talking. That's bigs. It's really hard to leave him off, but I'm a big Shaq fan. But David Robinson, I mean, I'll slide him in at power forward. I don't care. He's athletic.
Rick and I had that same argument just the other day. Hey, Tim Duncan was the true center on that team. We call him power forward, but David Robinson was the 4.
Absolutely. Well, so I guess we kind of both had the first pick. I'll throw my second one out there. I was not alive for him, but everybody who knows sports has probably heard about him, and that's Roberto Clemente. He is one of the greatest Pittsburgh Pirates of all time. He played, I think, almost 20 years for them before he died. He was a big humanitarian, but he spent some time in the military, and I guess he was in the U.S. Marine. God, I can't talk ever. U.S. Marine Corps, the reserves in '58. But yeah, I mean he. Tragically passed away. I'm sure most people know he tragically passed away doing some charitable work in a plane crash on his way to, I believe it was Puerto Rico. But yeah, I mean, he was, when you think of the Pittsburgh Pirates, other than losing seasons, he's probably the second thing that comes up into most people's minds, especially because he won 2 World Series with them. And he won MVP, perennial All-Star. He only... in the middle of his career, he spent 2 years where he wasn't an all-star, which was probably a joke. I mean, they were pranking him. They were playing a prank on him. But no, yeah. For me, when it comes to like military athletes, Roberto Clemente is the second one that comes into my mind.
Roberto Clemente. It didn't come to my mind. I'm gonna be honest. But you're shedding light on it. I think that's what we're here to do today. Absolutely great baseball player, though, and it was a travesty when he wasn't an all-star.
Mm-hmm. And how about you? So I guess we'll swing this back to you, do a little bit of a snake thing. Who would you say your second one on your list is?
Again, so these are not in any particular order.
Yeah.
I take that back. My last one may be my number one. But this is in no particular order. This guy here, second lieutenant in the United States Navy from 42 to 44. He had some issues while he was there. Once I state who it is, you guys may be clear on what those issues were, but loved his country, served some time, and he broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Jackie Robinson.
Absolutely.
Oh man. One of the greatest, there's historical value there. There's American value there, but he was also a great baseball player. he was so much more than just the face of a movement, so to speak. He was a really good baseball player. But before he came to the major leagues, man, he said, "Hey, I'm going to serve my country." Second lieutenant, United States Army, and that's the hard stuff, man. That's the hard branch. I was in the Navy. The Army is the tough one. You got the Marines, you got the SEALs, you got the Army. The rest of these, they're still serving the country, but these are the tough ones.
Saying you were there. Funny story before I ask for your last one, since we're going in the snake, doing this in a little snake way. I was essentially told I was too fat to go to the military. It was my senior year of high school, and I had gotten calls and calls and calls, never answered, accidentally answered the phone once. I can't
accidentally
answered the phone once. I don't remember which branch it was, but hey, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to play football. And he's like, how big are you? I was like, I am 6'4", 320. And he's like, well, he's like, you're a little too big for us, but good luck. I never received another call ever again after that. So I was like, yes, I guess you can be a little too fat to, which just to jump back on the David Robinson thing, that was actually how they finagled his not going to the front lines. They said that I think he said it would not be safe for him to go to the front lines because of how big he was. But
really?
I was reading, it was one of the ways that they were, I forget what they had him do, but yeah, they said that someone his size, it would not be good for him to go to where he would go. Back then, I'm not going to pretend like I know the ins and outs of it, but yeah, they basically said, like, you're too big to do that. We'll figure something out in the back end for you, so you don't have to go. But
somebody's coming to mind that should have had smaller parents. All right, let's keep it moving.
Well, how about who's your last one?
Oh man, so this might be my number one, and this is just personal preference on number one. All right, so his parents were both World War II veterans. Okay,
let's see.
World War II veterans. I'm not going to say where he's from. I feel like you may get that. Later on, he went on to play football. Number 12. He was great in his state. He was just an animal in football. But what you're going to know him most for is his time in the then known WWF. He is now your governor of Minnesota, the 38th governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. And let me not leave out, he was one mean actor. All I know is if you've ever watched Predator, you had Carl Weathers held it down. Obviously, there was Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if you did not live for the moment when Jesse the Body Ventura was talking in that movie, something's wrong with you. Jesse Ventura is my number 3. But really, my number one in my heart.
Yeah, it's hard not to throw him on there just as a wrestling fan. I seen it. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna throw him on mine. I didn't throw him on mine, but I'll say
well, let me add this. He was in the U.S. Navy underwater demolition team during the Vietnam War. Like that's crazy. Like we know him, but he was that's hard. Yeah. Hard's not the word. That's a tough guy. He put it on the line for the country, man.
Yeah, and he's done a little bit of everything. Like you said, I mean, he was in the military, WWE's, in movies. I mean, he did a little bit of everything. So he made a good living for himself, I guess.
Yeah.
But I will throw in my last one, who I would say is a true. He is a real American.
Yeah, that's my ringtone right now, Bob.
Which one? Me singing it or the actual song?
Definitely not yours. The actual song.
So mine. I have to go. Anytime I think of it, I actually have a jersey. I got a custom jersey specifically for him. But Pat Tillman. I think any list, whenever it comes to talking about athletes and military service, Pat Tillman he's really truly the first one that does come to mind. Like David Robinson, just because he's big in basketball, big for basketball and stuff like that. Like he comes to mind, but really the first one that comes to mind is Pat Tillman. I mean, I was still a little bit younger, but I remember I remember this happening, and I remember all of the investigations into his death and all of that. But he turned down obviously a safe, as safe as football can be, but a safe, little comfortable career in the NFL as an All-Pro to go
$9 million contract.
Yeah, $9 million, and he decided after 9/11 that he was going to go to the military. Unfortunately, he was killed in some crossfire. It's obviously everything's still all debatable, but he was killed by his own people. But yeah, from him turning down, he was an All-Pro in his last season. He was one of those. He was like a bowling. I don't want to say a bowling, not a bowling ball. What's a wrecking ball? What are those called? I can't think. Is that what it is? Is that all it is? It's a wrecking ball. He's just a wrecking ball at safety. I would have loved to see him and Sean Taylor playing at the same time. I would love to see them two playing at the same time. But yeah, no, I made sure I have an Arizona State Pat Tillman jersey that I have. So, but yeah, I mean, it's hard. He gave his life. He gave up football to give up his life to do what he wanted, do what he felt was best for America, and that's why he's on mine.
Hey, I can't argue with that one. Now I feel a little less patriotic not having him on my list. But yes, Pat Tillman,
listen. If you go see some of the things that Jesse Ventura wears, trust me, you're as patriotic as I think. But no. So I guess I turned the tone down a little bit there. So let's get. Actually, I'm going to turn it down even more whenever I talk about this next thing. So obviously, Boston, Miami up 3-0. Now, now we're at 3-3, going to Game 7, back in Boston. First off, what are your thoughts on this happening?
Man, so I was talking to Rick about it, Rick Blaze, our very own. I talked to all you guys about it. Rick would like to take credit, and I let him. Hey, look, I'm not going to take anyone's shine, but here's what I said at the end of game. At the end of Game 3, I saw Boston defending Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo on the pick and roll a particular way, and then you saw Gabe Vincent. I think that's isn't that when he went down with the ankle injury late?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah,
and you just saw something there, and it just clicked for me, and I think it started clicking for that piece of garbage of a coach that Boston has. Is that this is the root of all of Miami's offense. If we can figure this out, it's going to be tough for all these other guys to really get it going. Mm-hmm. They're playing great, but this is the root of everything. So I had a sneaking suspicion at the end of Miami's Game 3 win. I was really concerned with how this would shake out. And then obviously Boston came out. We saw them defending the pick and roll differently, and they were using Robert Williams instead of Al Horford a lot more. And I said, this is going to be tough now. Miami's going to have to eke out a game. And obviously Game 4 and 5, they didn't eke out anything. Then last night, I'm just watching the game, and I say, Jimmy's having the worst playoff performance I've ever seen him have. But his team was holding him down, so I just knew he would pull back in the fourth, and he did. He figured out how to get to the free throw line. He did a lot of the little things, and just to watch that ending happen the way it did on the most fundamental thing, all that effort they put on the court all night long to not box out 6'2". Let's call him 6'3", whatever, 6'3", Derek White. Oh, man, with milliseconds on the clock. That's painful. And I'll say this, obviously, not obviously, I am absolutely going for Miami, but I don't feel good about a Game 7 for them at all.
Yeah, and I just, it makes me wonder if Jimmy Butler's just kind of running out of steam. I mean, he had one of the best series it's probably the best series he ever had against Milwaukee. I mean, he scored 25 points, and that was the lowest he scored in a game in that series, and never scored under 30 after that. So,
and some of the layups and some of the shots he were missing last night, I mean, they were gimmies. Yeah, so he definitely looked gassed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm pulling for Miami too. As a Sixers fan, like I want Boston to win just to say, oh yeah, Boston's they're still in it because they beat us, so they're obviously great. But no, I'm really pulling for Miami. At some point, and I felt this at the end of the Sixers series, and it never happened. I'm like, at some point, Tatum's going to have to get tired. Apparently not.
I'm not a huge Tatum fan though. That was the other thing at the end of the game. I'm sorry to cut y'all. The other problem that I had is Boston did everything they could to give that game away last night. They did not deserve to win it. In the fourth quarter, and they still pulled it out. So that bothers me too.
Yeah, and I want to highlight one more thing. Derek White's hairline, Jesus. Well, anyways, is there a particular Game 7 that sticks out to you in all? Even if it's not a Game 7, if it's the last game of any series, or a Game 7 in any series, hockey, whatever, is there one that stands out to you the most?
I'm a basketball guy. There is one that sticks out, but I do have to mention 1994 Rockets Knicks. A big Akeem, the Dream, putting up 25. You see how I always bring it back to Akeem Olajuwon? Burning Mad Max Maxwell. Anybody know that dude was on so much cocaine through many games, and he would fight a reporter afterward with the drop it. But you know what else he would do? He would lock up Michael Jordan when they played, and he would hit game-winning threes and series-clinching threes, which he did in that series. But that's not the one. That's not the one. I just had to get that out. Amazing. Rockets took out the Knicks. That was the year I moved from Houston or New York to Houston. So that'll always stick out in my mind. But again, I hate to bring Rick's name up again, but he had a blazing takes about this. I hated LeBron James with all my heart. I did. I hated him. There were so many things. I know you can agree. You still agree. There were so many things about his character and about the way he went about things, and I was not a fan. Like if LeBron was playing against the devil, I'd have some pom-poms saying, "Let's go, Satan." I hated LeBron. But that 2016 series against the Cavs, that Game 7, it was crazy. That's all I can say. It was insane, and it was the moment that kind of moved the needle for me because it was so unreal how he affected the game on both ends of the court when he decided to turn it on. And that's honestly one of the things that I didn't like about him. I think that's probably the same way you feel on the inside, if you were ever really admitted, is that he's such a specimen, a lot like Shaq. It's like as dominant as you are, you should be even more dominant. But I mean, I've learned to appreciate different things about turning it on and turning it off, I guess. But that series, often, I mean, that big block, and just a note, I remember it like it was yesterday. I think I had like 600 on the game on the Warriors winning. But when LeBron was leading them back, I was cheering for him. I found myself in my home like, yeah, like, wow. I mean, he was going after it. So I was cheering for my own money to go up in flames. It was just an incredible Game 7. Modern era, that's the one for me. 2016 Cavs Warriors finals.
Yeah, the block's still amazing because if you go back and watch, I mean, I don't know how Iguodala didn't finish it. And what hurts me even more is that it was on Iguodala, and I will always, as a Sixers fan, I always wanted to see him. And he's got some now, but he can never have too many to me. But yeah, no, I mean that's a good pick. Yeah, I mean that's the frustrating thing about players like that is like LeBron and like your Shaqs is it is frustrating when you have so much talent, but have we ever really seen? I don't know. We've seen more of LeBron's what he could be than we could have Shaq's, but it's still, did we really see what we could have seen from LeBron? Because when there are times when, and I'm all about getting your teammates involved and making sure everybody's feeling good on the court. Because I think in order for you to really be successful, you need to work well with your teammates. But I mean, at some point and he did that. At some point, you just need to keep the ball. Don't pass the ball. Don't pass it. I mean,
Yeah.
once he made that pass to J.R. Smith, he should have known never pass it ever again.
He's the ultimate team player. Like I won't get into all of that, but it was great to see in that moment where he turned it on. He looked around, saw people injured, saw this stuff going. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna do everything and watch me get it done. It was incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna throw. So I'm keeping it to whenever I was alive, obviously, and this one was a couple years ago. I will throw out 1960 Pirates walk-off Game 7 World Series win, but just because I don't have anything really good to talk about the Pirates about, so I just throw it out there anytime I can. But man, that 2019 Eastern Conference semifinals. 76ers, Toronto Raptors. Oh, man. It's not one of my favorites. It is not one of my favorites. But if you made a movie about, if you made a basketball movie, like that is literally how a basketball movie is going to end. Your star player has a chance to put the game away at the free throw line, can't do it, other team ties it, and then you give them, I don't know, 5 seconds left at the end of the game, 10 seconds at the end of the game. How many bounces? I think it took at least 3 bounces. And I'm like, there's no
the highest bounces off the rim ever.
It's like there's no freaking way that this is going to go in. It was like at least 3 bounces, and all you could do is everybody just had to stand there and watch. And what happens? Freaking Kawhi Leonard hits that 3. And it's heartbreaking because it's one of those ones where I wonder if we would have kept Jimmy Butler had we actually won that game. Probably not. Probably not. We were idiots. We would have still found a way to keep Tobias Harris over him. But no, I mean, it was just, when it comes to ones like memorable ones, whether it's a good or a bad memory, I have to go with the Raptors 76ers, especially because Kawhi went on to win his first and only championship, which was good for him, despite my... I'm not going to say that I don't like Kawhi, because I like Kawhi, but I don't like when players force their way out of a place like he did the Spurs. It's like,
agreed. That's
the only reason I don't like Ben Simmons. When Ben Simmons came back I'm just gonna, not to ramble on it. When Ben Simmons came back to practice that 1 or 2 times, I think he came back for 2 practices. When he came back for the Sixers, I was like, yeah, man, we're ready. We're ready. We're going. I'm ready to start cheering for him again. And then he had to be a little baby, and now he's gone, and he's going to probably find himself on the 3rd team in 3 years. So, because he's a scrub now. But anyways, we'll wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with some SimWorld Hoops. So we have a lot of young guys in this league still. A lot of them that are going to be back next season. Are there any that stick out to you that are these young guys who maybe they flash some talent, or maybe there's a specific skill that you know is going to translate well once they get maybe a year under their belt in SimWorld Hoops? Is there any underrated 15 or 16-year-olds that really stick out to you?
Oh, man, this first guy for me, there's a lot of flack about who gets the ball on this team and how often they get it, and I stand by the fact that I think Tyson Simpson should touch the ball every single time. But I will say that once there's a year under this kid's belt, Tyson Simpson has gone on Tokyo, Japan's finest. Devin Fields, 6'3", at least that's what they say. He looks a little taller than me. I love his game, man. He's averaging 7.5 points a game, 4.2 assists a game. He's not playing huge minutes. He's shooting 43%. But his basketball IQ, you've seen him make some incredible passes, and they're not super flashy, but they are on the money. He runs that pick and roll to perfection. He can go get his own bucket, and he defends. In a season, basketball-wise, in the NBA and the playoffs, where IQ has been put on major display, if the Heat can pull off this victory, and we see the Nuggets going to the championship, I think it really shines a light on basketball IQ. And at 16, to have that kind of IQ is incredible. And like I said, he can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot. He slashes. He runs the pick and roll 4.2 assists, and I think he's probably playing somewhere around like 20 minutes a game. And those are numbers he's putting up when he's got to feed Big Tyson Simpson, and you got a bunch of other guys on that team that are just jacking up shots, and he still manages to get the ball in his hands and makes things happen. So big time Devin Fields fan, man. I like that guy.
No, yeah, I think that's a really good pick. I think he is a really good. Well, he's a really good player. He's going to be a really good player when he doesn't have to share the light. And I'm actually going to stick for my first one. I'm actually going to stick with Beyond the Arch, but I'm going to go with. But it's not going to be the same. I think that because of again, you got the Tyson Simpson. You still have David Duffy there. He's not starting right now, but David Duffy returning from last season. They have some solid players. I'm going to go with Daniel Horry though. He is an outstanding shooter. And he's made 34 threes so far this season. And he's the second leading scorer on this team. But you don't really, outside of Tyson Simpson, we'll talk about Christian Kelly. Devin Fields sometimes gets his name brought up, and sometimes he gets confused for the other Fields on Heartland Zombie Stars. But they have some solid players here. But I think Horry, once he's able to get into the starting, I don't know what he should be the starting shooting guard for this team, period. And they need to find a way to get him more involved because I think he could be up there with it's kind of pushing it, but his name should be up there with the likes of Trey, when it comes to shooting specifically, the Trey Turners and the Kadarius Loftuses and stuff like that, because I just think he's such a good shooter, good pure shooter that it's only next season. He's only 15 too. Next season, I think whenever he's again probably going to be in the starting lineup or should be, Coach Kusa, figure it out. I think he's going to be a star. He'll probably be he'll be a top 20 player, but he's not really talked about now.
He's just outside of the top 10 in three-pointers made. I think he's got 34, and number 10 is like Jay Laster or whatnot with 35. Yeah, he's a dog, man. He hasn't had a lot of shooting opportunities. I'm right there with you.
No, yeah, for sure. But yeah, so my second pick, I'm going to swing to, there's a lot of, it's another one of those teams where there's just so much talent or so many different names that are going to be thought of before him. But for Bad Boys basketball, I have to go with Elijah Alexander. I think that he has a lot of talent, but when you have guys like Samuel Bogus in there, Aiden Weaver, Bo Pagnotti, when you're probably, I would say, just shooting wise or at the guard position, when you're the fourth option, you're not going to get a whole lot of looks. I mean, his partner there, Aiden Weaver, I could probably use him too. He's just outside the top 10 too. He has 32 three-pointers made. Aiden Weaver does. But I think Elijah
64% too.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think that Elijah Alexander at 6'4", I think he can do – he is exactly what a team needs. I think he's a team's Andre Iguodala, but he can score if he's given the opportunity.
Every time I hear you say Andre Iguodala, all I think of is Max Kellerman. Death Beam, Fate of the Universe on the line. Give me Iguodala. I'm sorry.
But no, yeah, but no, I think that Alexander, he's underappreciated. He's not used a whole ton for Bad Boys, and I know it's one of those situations where there is just at his particular position, whether it be point guard or shooting guard, there is just so much talent that it's going to be hard for him to really break through until some of those guys leave. And fortunately for him, he is one of 3 16-year-olds on this team. All the rest are 17. Some of them are going to have the opportunity to go off after this season and go to college, do whatever. So I do think right now, obviously, his 3.3 points per game isn't outstanding, but I just don't think he's really had the opportunity. But in his limited play, I think that he's shown that he can be a complete player for this team, and we just have to wait another year to see it.
I really like that pick. I'm not going to say I totally agree with it, but I will say I like the point made in that is that a lot of these kids in SimWorld Hoops are, I want all the minutes right now. Give me a chance, coach. Elijah Alexander is a very talented kid, but that's just an example. You got a team full of older kids that have one more season under their belt that are getting a chance to shine. They're going to go on and do other things. Some of them may stay. Some of them are going to be going on to college. Some of them are going to be sacking groceries, right? But they're going to move on, and then Elijah's going to get his chance here.
Hold on. I just not to, you say packing groceries, but you look Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was packing groceries, and he's Hall of Famer, man. He one of the great.
All right. Yep. That is absolutely the example and not the rule. Absolutely the exception. Excuse me, but yeah. I like the Alexander. I like the point made in Elijah Alexander. Definitely want to wait and see if you're proven to be right on that one. I think he is also caught in a log jam that team really is as to what position do you play?
Yeah,
what position you gonna play for us, kid?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I will, since we're throwing it in this a little bit of a snake way here. I'll go ahead and give my last one, so you can have the last say. I'm gonna stick, I think, in the same division.
I didn't get my second guy.
Oh, you didn't get You're right. You didn't. Did you?
Hey, man, if we're going to snake, we got to snake.
You're right. I don't know how to read. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, look, here's what I have for my second guy, and I don't know if he qualifies as kind of, under the radar young man or not. But he came to this team mid-season. I think he only has a few games under his belt, maybe 3-4 max. But the impact that he had immediately, and where I think he's going to go at the center position, big, whatever you want to call him. He's 6'9", 235. So, yeah, he's a big guy. And he's currently number 5 in SimWorld Hoops and blocks with 3 a game. And he was rebounding, just a rebounding machine. Jermaine Owens out of Philadelphia Elite. I know you like the big guys. I do too. And he's 10 points a game, almost 11, 9 boards, 2 assists. He's shooting 53%. That could be a lot better. But that team needed a big man.
Yeah.
They got a big man. They got a real big man. I don't want to forget Marcus Lofton over there, but when Marcus Lofton's gone, that gets to shine an even brighter light on Jermaine Owens. And I think he's, it's kind of that old school basketball feel. He reminds me of like a bigger, tougher Kenneth Faried. He gets off his feet really quick, and he's just like, hey, is there the ball? The ball's in the air and no one has it? That means I'm supposed to get it. If that's a block, if that's a board, whatever it is, that's my ball. Watch out, little guys. Big Jermaine Owens fan, huge Queen stand-up. I don't know how they feel about him playing in Philadelphia, but yeah, this kid, he's big and he plays big and he knows how to play big. So I'm a big fan of that.
Absolutely, and I think if he can get a little bit more of an offensive game, I think he'd be even more deadly. But we say that about a lot of guys. Even if he doesn't, yeah.
When you have that kind of motor and you go get the ball, like a lot of these kids are not going to be offensively skilled. Some people don't put it together, but he has a motor, he has a will and desire to go get the ball offensively and defensively, and that translates.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good pick. I think once Lofton leaves, I do think that Owens and Alika Matson might be a good little Twin Towers action down there for Philadelphia, unless obviously Matson leaves or Owens decides to leave after the season, but hopefully they don't. But yeah, I'm going to throw his name out there. It does not fit any of the descriptions that we are using for this particular segment, but can someone give Nos Hall the love he deserves, please? Anybody? All right, no, probably not. Okay. But since I obviously don't know how a snake works,
you keep it going. This is a broken snake.
This is a broken snake. I'm going to go with my final pick. I'm going to go with the originator's Kamari Ward. I think that this particular kid, obviously, when you have DJ Wagner and you have Kadarius Loftus there, the likelihood that you're going to play, or if you want to play, you're probably going to have to play a little bit out of position, is extremely low. Add in on top, Jared Quinney is a good 3-point shooter. I think Kamari Ward, he has some range on him. He has some athleticism on him. I think that he's not there yet, but I do think that I see a lot of Dominic Bianco and Kamari Ward. Just to compare for somebody in SimWorld Hoops, I see a better shooter than Dominic Bianco, but the way that he can get to the basket at his size, I think that I see a lot of Dominic Bianco in him, and I think that and I think that once, obviously, Wagner's not going to be here after next season. He's going to be down in Duke, right? Kentucky. I'm sorry, I always confused him and that other guy that I can't think of either. They're both blue. They're both blue and white. I don't know. So Wagner's going to be off to Kentucky. Loftus, who knows what he's going to be doing? I think Kamari Ward's going to get the opportunity to really shine next season when he gets to be one of the focal points. He's playing small forward right now. That is not the best position for him, but in the offense that is run by the originators, it's a good offense for that. to me, it's like a Golden State offense, kind of, at least what they're trying to run. But yeah, Kamari Ward, I think his range, he and his physicality, again, getting to the hoop, I think that nobody's talking about him, and for good reason. There's so many other people to talk about on that team. But I watch out next season if he's still around.
He reminds me of this is going to dim his light a lot when I say the comparison. But anybody that remembers this guy in his prime, just the way that he played, not his ceiling. He reminds me of like a Darius Miles, like how he gets to the rack, and he's just kind of wiry and strong. It's like, how is he moving people out of his way? He's just literally slicing through the defense, literally slicing. So I like his game a lot. Attacking the basket, just like I said about Jermaine Owens, attacking the basket translates at every level on any team, and he does that. And anytime that you forget about him and you key in on DJ or Kadarius, and you see him go and he punches on somebody and he gets it done. So I like that pick there, and I think he's going to get a chance. He's out of Florida though, right?
Yeah, he's out of Jacksonville. So that's the thing is, it's wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe try and head back because really everybody is from New Jersey and up. There really isn't anybody outside of Victoria Silgauskas and Kadarius Loftus not from that area. But yeah, from Florida, I mean, it gets cold. It gets cold up. He hasn't been there for the cold the cold months yet. So we'll see. We'll see if he decides to stick it out once it starts snowing.
Yeah, I know what my answer would be. We'll see. All right. Well, look, I got mine. Do I get last here?
You get last.
Kennewick, Washington's very own. I think I'm saying that area right. So this kid does not get a whole lot of burn on his team, but I'm just looking sheerly at the numbers, what I've seen through the eye test in his limited action, and then I'm also looking at his size and potential. Travion Sherwood out of Rain and Trays. He's 6'9", 200 pounds. He's pretty filled out. You see him getting it done actively defensively. He's guarding bigs. He's guarding out on the perimeter. He's moving his feet. He's only averaging 5 points a game, but check this out. Like in limited action, 5 rebounds, almost 2 assists. He's shooting 52% from the field, and he's knocking down 58% of his threes at 6'9", guarding big men out, in the post and on the perimeter. He's 16 years old, and he's playing behind Nick Beal, Jason Crosser, the dunk god, Jafet Towns. Like, there's not a whole lot of time for him to say, hey, we want to run this offense through you.
Yeah, no.
in the words of me and Rick, we like to laugh at it. They're pretty much telling him, hey, man, you want the ball, go get it off the glass. That's messed up. But he's got a skill set that I think is – It's what teams are looking for at the pro level at this point. Honestly, give me 6'9" and up, can defend the post, and you can shoot that ball. I think he's going to be gold for this team next season. They're going to have to bring in some other pieces, obviously. They have a really young team as it is, though, to be honest, as I'm sitting here looking. Yeah, so when Jason Crosser's gone and Kylo Shalapompa the Pompous, I said that right?
I think so.
Yeah, nailed it. All right, when they're gone, I think that opens up a lot for him. But I'm a big Travion Sherwood fan. I think that last big win that they had just a few days ago, he showed up big time in that one, was knocking down some shots and getting some blocks. So I think that kid's going to be something special down the road. I'm looking forward to the rest of his career, to be honest. So
yeah, I not to put too much pressure on it. Too much pressure on him or anything, but at his size and his shooting ability, I mean, can we say that we see a little bit of KD in him? I think that I know he's young. I mean, we have to make these projections so we can look like idiots 5 years down the road.
I'll leave that one to you now.
But no, I see a little bit of KD in him. Really good shooter, big size. Just like you said, again, it's another one of those teams where is he going to find the time? There is, like you said, get it off the board. Because there is just so much talent. I mean, Jason Crosser pretty much left last season anyways, so he really, I don't think he's really too much of a threat. But anyways, yeah, no, that's a very good pick. I mean, the reigning Trays in general. I mean, they're sitting at 9-7. I didn't think we'd be saying that, especially after the 2-win season last year. And those 2 wins came at like one of the wins came at the very end of the season. But
we'll bring that up. That's sore stuff. That's sore topic.
But yeah, no, a good pick. Well, Yellz, I appreciate you hopping on here to fill in the little void that Eric left me today. But
yeah, is he out of the bathroom yet?
I don't think so. I sent him in a text. I told him if I don't hear from him in about 35 minutes, I'd call 911. But it happens. Well, is there anything final you would like to say to the people?
Hey man, just for anyone that did serve in the military, appreciate you guys. Thank you for your service. As someone that was there myself, hey, I love this country. I would not get off of this show without saying I love this country. That's it, man.
Absolutely. I know I gotta go through my American flag swimming trunks on now and be a real American. Just go.
Those are Speedos, guys.
Well, we appreciate you guys listening as always, and we hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
Peace.